What I'm going to talk to you today is about genetic testing, and this is something that you are likely to be invited for if you've got a strong family history of breast and ovarian cancer. And in terms of the process of genetic testing, what we're really talking about is a simple blood test. And the reason for that is that what we're looking for is what we call your germline DNA. So that's the DNA that's in your whole body, and we can get that from the white blood cells in a blood sample. So once that blood sample has been taken, it's sent over to the genetics lab, and in Manchester that's at St Mary's Hospital, and processed for DNA. And there are several key genes that we will be looking at routinely for those who've got a strong family history of breast cancer. And the three routinely tested are BRCA1, BRCA2, and now PALB2 or PALB2 as well. Now, the reason that that's very important is if we identify that you do have an error, a mutation in one of those genes, that could be passed on down the family, so from mother or father to daughter or son. And that would then also result in an increased risk in that person as well if they inherited that gene mutation. If we have a gene like BRCA1 or BRCA2 that's got an error, then there's a 50-50 chance that that could be passed on to one of your children. So of course, by no means a certainty if you have been told that you have that mutation that it would be passed down through the generations. It's actually quite rare or quite unusual for people to have a mutation such as this in the general population, but the more cases of breast cancer and ovarian cancer there are in the family, and particularly the age at which those cancers occur, are important. So the younger the age that the cancers occur, the more likely there is to be a mutation in the genes BRCA1, 2 and PALB2. Now there are some additional genes that are sometimes tested, but they're not tested routinely on the NHS. Occasionally, as part of a research project, we might identify those gene mutations, and then again the same testing can be done for the family to determine whether or not you carry the gene the gene mutation, and therefore whether or not you would be eligible for certain other screening or prevention approaches. In terms of the screening and prevention, we know that those women that do carry a mutation in BRCA1, 2 and PALB2 have an increased risk of breast cancer and are therefore eligible for screening starting at a younger age than the NHS breast screening programme and continuing for longer on an annual basis. That screening frequently involves both magnetic resonance imaging, so MRI scans, in addition to mammograms. And also, because the risk of breast cancer is higher in those women, then they're also eligible for risk-reducing surgery, so bilateral or both-side mastectomy. And there's an additional video all about that on the Prevent website. So if you called for genetic testing, one of the first things that happens is actually some genetic counselling. So you'll be talked to by a trained genetic counsellor about the chances of a mutation and what would happen if indeed you do have a mutation identified. And that's a really important step. Then you'd have the genetic testing, which, as I've said, is a blood test. And thereafter, the results will be provided to you with additional counselling if required to determine who in the family might also want to go through with the testing procedure. Thank you.